This is absolutely Essendon. It's our round 2 game review. Bombers against the Swans. We went down by 5 goals up in Sydney. There is quite a bit to unpack from the game. It featured a lot of stuff. We had a Peter Wright wrongdoing, or was it? We had Hare Gresham continues to rise, and Papley post-game pot shots, amongst many other things. How are you feeling after the game?
Yeah, look, well, that was quite an introduction, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't normally come in like that, but I thought I'd do an executive summary
It's almost
today.
like 60 minutes now, isn't it?
Yeah. You'd be used to an executive summary, wouldn't you?
I would, as you can see. More about getting my papers ready for court appearances, but
Right.
otherwise I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
No, I just think I want to take the look and feel of this show a little more upscale.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Is that what you're trying to do?
Less
And
T-shirt, more tie.
I didn't get the memo.
You didn't?
No. Well, it's to appeal to the whole market, I think. That's why we do
We're
this.
certainly covering the spectrum here, from the finest of South Yarra
Right.
to the sort of killing fields of Werribee. I think we've pretty much got the there was a recent incident with a porter bin in Werribee. Someone
being decomposed?
That's correct, but
Oh,
that's for another. That's for absolutely
that's
crime report.
That's our true crime.
But
series.
anyway, I am, as you can see, adding a little sartorial elegance to the whole proceeding.
He's on his lunch break, basically.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get this done.
I just hope no one calls out price check aisle 4
Yeah.
whilst I'm in here, because I might have to quickly run out. Now, let's talk about this game, shall we? I'd like to firstly start with the fact that I thought we were pretty good in most areas of the game of Australian football, except the one that matters the most.
Defending.
And that's stopping the opposition from scoring. And we did concede quite a few goals.
And quite a few scoring opportunities in total.
Yeah, and it was becoming a little bit annoying as the game sort of proceeded to watch the ease at which the Swans were able to, firstly, collect another turnover from us, and then just waltz down to the other end of the ground, and it was like shelling peas for them at one point in time. And I think they had 19 marks in their forward 50 for the game. Now that was also the same against Hawthorn the week before. 19 marks in the forward 50 is a game loser. You're not going to win games of football given the opposition set shots from within 50 metres. And despite their inaccuracy, in the end they got us. So I thought we did pretty well elsewhere around the game. I thought our contested stoppage work was fantastic. There's a lot more mongrel and grunt, and we'll come to that in terms of the team. And I thought we ended up kicking quite a few goals anyway, so
we did. We still got to 100
Yeah.
points, and in that last quarter, you could argue we had a bit of a sniff. Now Swans
there was a brief
say
moment, wasn't
they
there?
were in control, but at least we had had a little bit of a sniff. But you're right. The way the Swans, in what is a very tight ground, managed to get marks within inside 50, and then that player quickly kick it to another player who happened to be free as well. Incredibly frustrating.
I don't know the numbers, but the number of mark kick passes that they would have had in that game, I think their uncontested marks were almost twice as many as ours.
Whereas when we went forward, massive congestion.
A lot of
Never
congestion,
any space.
kicking to packs.
Just so frustrating.
But having said that, we did do pretty well. We did score well. I think the forward line worked okay despite the poor entry.
Nice spread of goal kickers, which is good to see.
True. So, I think there's ticks going on here. I thought most of the players really tried hard, so no one can question that. And they did have a little bit of mongrel about them as well, which was always good to see. But
it is good to see.
I think there's this fundamental problem with the way we defend the football field, and I don't know why, as a footy club, we haven't been able to master this part of the game for God knows how long. I heard over the weekend that we are the second worst performing team in the competition, only behind West Coast in terms of defending the transition from our forward 50 to the opposition's forward 50. And so, that's a bottom 4 statistic, I'm afraid to say. So if it's not addressed quickly, if the coaching cannot come up with the right way in which to manage this issue, how to defend the ground when the ball's in the other team's hands, we are in for a very long season, I'm afraid to say. Because despite everything else, despite all the good signs, despite all the the sort of upticks and things, we're not going to win too many games of football, as I said, if the opposition's getting 19 marks inside their forward 50. So that I think is the key thing that's come out of this game.
Yeah.
Apart from, some of the other highlights, which I guess we're going to talk about.
We are. But in general, I take some heart in that there wasn't a capitulation as we started to see last year, even though the Swans really did win quite comfortably. But yes, it is a bit concerning that why does that seem such a difficult thing to fix up? It's one of the things when we're in peak delusion mode in the pre-season, we think, I bet they're working on that. They've got a whiteboard out, they're working out this defensive game plan, they're sorting all those things out, and then...
Well, look, it needs to be looked at, and I think there's a lot of theories going around already. Some people are saying that maybe we need to switch to a man-on-man type defence as soon as the ball goes to the opposition. But the problem is turnovers are not planned. So if you turn the ball over, you're already on the back foot, you're already out of position, and if the other side has good ball movers, and Sydney does, their disposal by foot was elite. I think at one point in that game, they were kicking the ball, at 73% efficiency to our 57%.
Yeah.
So, you just can't afford to be doing, what we do, which is turning the ball over a fair bit.
Yeah.
Particularly in bad positions when you've got an opponent that's able to just grab it and run down to the other end and kick goals. So, so how do you stop it? I don't know. But, I mean, if there's not an almighty focus on that in the next few weeks at least, then we're going to really struggle against decent sides.
Yeah. Now, I mean, we're missing a few quality defenders, of course, but nevertheless, I just still think it just seemed a bit loose back there.
Well, I mean, it was like Vindaloo, wasn't it, going through your system after a heavy night out. There was no stopping it.
No.
And I'm not sure that Ridley or Redmond would have made a lot of difference because the damage had been done back in our forward 50 or in the midfield where we turned the ball over. And once it happened, these guys were just going to always be caught out. And there's some very damning photographs floating around showing 5 or 6 unmarked Sydney players just literally running down the field and our guys standing in their zone defence looking on from 40 metres away going, what the hell do I do now? So there is clearly a structural problem in how we set up defensively and how we respond to these turnovers when they happen.
All right, I would agree with all of that. Nicely said. So let's get on to some of the key moments of the game, and there was one very early on where Peter Wright, who I wouldn't normally pick as an aggressive, go for the man kind of player, but he had an incident, and it's been referred to the MRO, and probably I'm hoping that we'll upload this earlier, but we may not. So we may know the result.
I think
by
we know
the time
the result
this comes out
anyway, don't we? Right?
Yeah,
it's Essendon.
Yeah,
Brad Scott came out and said, "Look, Peter Wright is a ball player."
Yeah,
he's a ball player.
I think that's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
But is it going to matter? Does history matter now when the AFL's staring down the barrel at billion-dollar lawsuits from ex-players, players who suffer through concussion and other things?
Yeah.
I don't think the AFL gives a shit anymore about whether the guy's a ball player or not. I think they want to rub out anybody who remotely hurts another player. Yeah. And I think that's fine. But I think in this case there are some extenuating circumstances. And if you really look at the footage, which I'm sure they will, it's quite clear that Peter Wright had his eyes on the ball until the very last second when he saw, is it Cunningham, the Sydney player, coming in from the side. I mean, the question also has to be asked, where is Cunningham's responsibility in this? His duty of care?
Yes.
Because he was running backwards, almost blindly, not aware of who was coming at him, putting himself in danger. And, I mean, the game is a physical game. You can't. Sometimes you can't avoid these types of collisions. I thought Wright, in the last second, tried to turn out of the collision, and that's what actually will probably get him in the end, is it appears that he's bracing himself for the hit to deliberately hit the other player, but I don't think that was his intent whatsoever. I think it could be a 0 suspension through to 6 weeks. Who knows? It could be anything.
Bring in the biomechanics guy. That's what we need.
Yeah.
But unfortunately though, I think it'll probably just end up being 4 weeks. And
you think 4?
If I had to guess, just because of the whole look, I mean, I don't know. It's another one of those elements where I just think a lot of this game does need a bit of redesigning, long term.
Well, they're
there's just so much
they're
grey
lawmaking
area.
on the run.
Yeah,
It's
just so much grey
Maynard
area.
last year, if you remember, in
Yes.
the
Yes.
finals, took out Angus Brayshaw,
Yeah, whose career's ended.
who has subsequently
Has he sent
retired.
him flowers again?
Yeah, popped over to see his mum
Right.
with some scones. So Maynard got off on that
Yeah.
one. Patrick Cripps got off last year, but I don't think that counts anymore. I think precedent absolutely has no place in our great game, and they are looking at everything now through a very different prism as to what they were only 6 months ago. So I don't fancy 2 metre Peter's chances, to be honest.
Right.
I think he might be spending a bit of time on the sidelines, and that in its own is a problem. But the bigger issue is it probably means the weed might be coming back.
No way. Surely we'll give Caddy a try.
I would
Surely.
have thought so, but
Come
I think
on.
knowing Scotty, I think he's going to have. He gets his man back. This is all he needed, was to get his man back, and I think
That's heartbreaking. You're just trying to wind me
will
up.
be back.
You're trying to wind me up.
I'd like to see Jones and Caddy coming back into the side
Yeah.
to play the Saints.
Yeah.
And I think we've just got to throw caution to the wind now and go, we're not winning anything this year. Nothing
no,
important.
don't go in that mode.
And let's get these
Don't.
boys out there and say, you've got, like to Jones, you've got 21 games to go. You've got 21 games to prove yourself. If you're not, you're out of this side. You're going to be playing for Williamstown next year.
Right.
Caddy is a different case, but I think, look, he's probably close enough to being ready, given that we have, some depleted tall forwards. So, we'll see how we go. But I suspect it'll be Wiedemann in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Won't that? That's like happy days.
Yeah.
The weed is back.
Okay.
So
All
Peter
right.
Wright, we'll see how he
So-
goes. But, I mean, the guy looked a bit crestfallen. I think the problem with that game is, when that happens, I don't think, Peter Wright felt good about what he'd done.
No, because he's not that kind
No,
of
he's
guy.
not. He's not
just
like Tom
not.
Papley, right?
He's just not.
Who delights in that type of thing.
Oh God, mate! Talk about a motor mouth. I mean, he just fits that annoying small forward persona well. Him, Ginnivan. There's just
What is
there's
it with these little guys? Is
they're
small man?
they're
small man?
compensating
Yeah?
for something.
Small
but
man
mate,
mentality.
he was pontificating at the end of the game, like in a zen-like state, like Buddha, that we just focus on the ball. Do ya?
Yeah.
Do ya, Papley?
Does he? I don't think he does.
I don't think so.
maybe
I don't think so. He's just feeling all pumped up. Kicked his 4 goals, so he
Mate,
was feeling very righteous.
He's the living, breathing definition of a sewer rat. And I have to say this much. I mean, be careful. What's his name? Tom, isn't it?
Thomas.
Careful, Tom. Because, you look like an absolute fool, mate. Because I think you were leading the charge with your pack of rabid dog teammates that were laying into Nick Dacos, a 19-year-old boy.
He might have been 20. Nevertheless.
He's 19. I don't care.
Yeah, all right, okay.
He's
all
a
right.
boy. He was barely out of
He
his
was.
bloody high school
He
shorts.
was. Hadn't shaved yet.
And you have this pack of mongrel dog Sydney
They were.
players
Yeah.
right into the poor kid's face. Well, like he
Yeah.
had the last laugh anyway because he's going to be a champion of our game, something that
That's
Tom
right.
Papley will not be. And whilst he's a damn good player, he's never going to be anything more than that. And I think Papley needs to just take one of those special shut-up pills.
Yeah, well,
And,
look, they have memories of a goldfish, footy players. So, I think
that's unfair on goldfish.
I think he'll be. I think he'll be regretting that. But it does bring us to the point. Well, what he was trying to suggest, that there was a bit of niggle in the game, and it's because the Dons were having a go.
By the way,
the ball.
I don't think he's wrong. By the way,
Right,
I just
but you
don't
don't.
like him.
Right,
Because,
I know that. No, I think everyone kind of gets that.
it's good to talk and walk the walk and all that sort of stuff, So, I mean, good on the Bombers for
Yeah.
being a little bit more mongrel, but at
Yes.
the end of the day,
Yeah.
you got to also win some games of footy.
You do.
So
You do.
what's your view on that?
Well, I mean, I think we've said it before. You don't win a premiership with a little bit of mongrel in the side. Pure breeds go nowhere. Okay, you need that element. So whether they're kind of forcing it a little bit, it isn't kind of there totally. But I'm supportive of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it went with Dyson Heppel and his Happy Fest.
What do you mean?
Well, he's not Dyson's a lovely guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Dyson
It wouldn't be a
he wouldn't
natural
hurt a
fit.
fly.
No, it wouldn't be a natural
He's
fit.
He's not getting in and doing little rabbit kicks and rabbit punches and things like that behind
Draper
the
had a go. God, it was nice to have Draper back,
Well,
wasn't it?
the irony is that Draper took somebody out, and that was actually worse than what Peter Wright did.
I
and
thought
it was,
so too.
Play on. But
Advantage.
But I think Drapes was very lucky, actually, in that particular incident. He didn't hurt the guy because had he done so, I think he might have been looking at unnecessarily rough play.
Would have been very depleted.
Medium-level contact. Well, yes. But I thought he was great, Draper, coming back.
It was very nice to have him back.
He absolutely pantsed Grundy in the first quarter at least, and his body work at the centre bounce, it was embarrassing for Grundy because Draper was just literally plucking them out of the air like he was pulling grapes off a vine, I thought, anyway.
Right,
okay. Faded a bit and then went off in the last quarter and, I think he'd probably run out of fuel by that stage.
Sure,
but he was very good.
Once again, we mention him a lot, but Merritt and his tackling, just a beautiful one on Warner, near the boundary line, I think in that third quarter. And then in the last quarter by, that tackle near in the goal square. Got the goal that then just gave us a bit of a sniff. Now, maybe we weren't in it, but at least, gosh, as a supporter, you're kind of still there. You're in the game. I mean, he really does lead by example.
He did, and he was supreme. In fact, he was probably very close to being best on ground himself.
Yeah.
But what a great captain's game he played, and I saw a piece of footage. I think it might have been at half time, 3/4 time,
right,
when he got stuck into young Elijah Sartis, who had shirked the issue, I think, on a couple of occasions during the game, and I think Zachy was having a bit of a word to him to say, step up, son. We can't carry you. You've got to put in an effort here.
Yeah.
And I thought Elijah looked a little bit shocked getting that from his skipper. But it reminded me of when James Hird took Damien Cupido under his wings at a game over in Perth.
Made no impact?
No, it made impact. Cupido was being a bit of a lair, and Hird had a word to him, and I think Cupido responded. So a captain's got to occasionally step up and give his players a bit of guidance, and I thought it was fantastic that Zach was doing that to a young player, admittedly, but a young player who no doubt will have learned from getting a roasting from his captain at 3/4 time or whenever it was.
Yes.
So that was great.
It was.
But he was fantastic, Zach Merritt, and boy, we are lucky we've got him.
Yes.
I tell you what, not too many of our players can kick the ball straight. At least he can.
Yeah, absolutely. Had quite a few piercing kicks. But as I touched on, we had a few goal kickers. Gresham kicking 3, very strong first half.
Gresham,
indeed. Hale.
He wears the famous number 11 with aplomb.
Yeah, Stringer still hasn't signed that contract, which is good to see.
Yeah, he was quietish, but did score the goals. Yeah, no question.
What we need, took advantage of his opportunities, which is great. And then Merritt chipping in with a couple, and Wright and Langford as always is there.
Yeah.
But I wanted to touch on though that something that's been focused on is our runner. I didn't even know Travis Cloak was part of the team there.
The big T-bar. Yeah, he was. He came out to get involved in the scuffle. Well, not involved, but he got himself involved.
Like a Croydon bouncer.
Yeah,
he was pulling people back.
Throwing him in the gutter.
From the melee. Is he going to get in trouble for that? Is he going to get 3 weeks for that?
Probably.
Is he in front of the MRO as well?
I'm not sure because he didn't actually get involved with the Sydney players.
No, he didn't.
He was pulling, for those that didn't see, he was stopping the Essendon boys from getting caught up in a melee at one point in time, and
they might get hurt.
He was just wouldn't mind having Travis Cloak in our forward line, but yes, he was doing probably what a runner is not meant to do. So he might get a please explain from who's the guy who runs the show now, Dylan. Andrew Dillon?
Yes.
We're probably Travis, lovely to see you again. Looking very, very ripped. How's retirement treating you? Can you please explain? So that will no doubt happen. That'll be the letter? I don't know. If he gets suspended, what happens? He just doesn't come to the game one week.
Mate, we're going to be short a couple of drink bottles out on the field.
Oh, dear. Okay. Yeah, so that was interesting. So Travis, but good to see him flying the flag, and he was doing his best to keep things under control. I'm not sure it worked, but well done, Travis.
Okay, so what else do we need to cover? Have we covered enough the Essendon edge?
Well, what is the Essendon Edge?
Yeah, what is it? It's got a name. I noticed it's got a brand before it's actually really happened.
That's what I thought.
That's always a bit concerning, isn't it?
It's kind of, you got to be careful when you're coming up with marketing terms, right? You've got to be able to, fulfill the promise.
Yes, exactly. You don't want to over promise, under deliver.
Exactly. So you've probably no doubt gone to certain restaurants, or you've bought some things where you've been led to believe it's world class, only to be disappointed.
Yes.
That's often called misrepresentation or false advertising.
That's right.
Are we false advertising here? That's what I would like to know. And tell me, what does it mean for a start, the Essendon Edge?
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't know?
No, I have no idea. Do you know?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you do?
No, but I was just throwing to you.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, don't throw.
Okay, so I think Brad Scott came up with the phrase.
Oh, did he?
I think so.
Oh, I thought it was fan-generated. Oh, it's his. Okay.
I think
all right.
it was... Please tell me if I'm wrong, but it's essentially, we play the Essendon way, which is hard-edged, take no prisoners, watch out, here we come.
Right.
That's what I think it means.
Okay.
How is that being implemented and applied? Does it live up to that expectation? I think it did. Mm-hmm. I thought that the boys were, generally speaking, not taking a step backwards.
No.
I don't think anyone can fault the effort on Saturday night against the Swans.
I would agree.
And I thought they stood up for themselves, and they dished out as much as they got, and I'm glad to see it. It's about time. It reminded me of a time long gone when we had players that could actually do that. So it's a learning process for a lot of our guys, I think, to become that harder edge type of player. But, it's certainly something that I think good teams have that in spades, and we need to develop that. We can't be soft any longer.
No, there'll be no premiership without that element.
Exactly.
And, people talking sides even like Richmond, ever since Hardwick has left, that maybe that's the element that seems to be missing thus far.
Yep.
It just shows how quickly you can lose it. So it really does need to be something that's that's drilled in.
Sure. I agree.
What else? Anything else on the negatives front? I mean, we've talked about
I think
pressure.
all up. Look, there was some very good players the other night. I thought Merritt, obviously, who we've talked about.
There's a few that had some quiet
Setterfield,
games.
I thought, was very good.
Amazing. Yeah. Better than very good.
And, I think generally speaking, our midfield was okay. Sartis might be looking at some time in the VFL. Hobbsy was a little quiet.
He was a little. Because I was very excited to see him back.
Yeah.
I kind of thought I was missing something. Why hasn't he been in this side?
You've got to persist with those guys.
Yeah, I think so. Very much so. Because I think it's all blue sky.
Well, it
Massive
is.
upside.
It is,
I think with someone like him. But do you think Parrish would have made a difference?
Yeah, of course he would. I mean, he's a quality player, and he will most definitely be back. I'm pretty sure he'll be back against the Saints. He was close this week.
Yeah.
So I think we'll be a much better side up against the Saints. We'll certainly be getting Redmond back, and every chance Ridley as well.
Oh, really?
So if we get Ridley, Redmond, and Parrish back in the side, I think you'll see. Obviously a couple of those younger mids might make way, but and of course the replacement for Peter Wright, whoever that may be. It could be Wiedemann, who knows, it could be Jonesy back, could
might be Caddy.
Come on. Could be. So there's going to be at least 3 or 4 changes, I would imagine, going into the Saints game. And look, we've got to see this game now as a must-win, because the following week we're on the road over to Adelaide. I think we play Port, is it, in the gather round?
Yes.
The week after?
I think so.
Or whatever.
So a win is really important
now, because we've got a tough draw.
It really is. But the Saints, of course, took care of the Pies fairly easily, which is what the Swans did the week before.
But does that mean anything now? Beating the Pies? Is that
I don't.
They'll only come into form when they play us. So.
Yeah, exactly. Wait for Anzac Day.
They'll be back to their premiership best.
Exactly.
It's like when we played Geelong last year. They were getting thumped, and then they came up against us, and Tom Hawkins kicked 8 goals that day. So
we play a team into form. We do that best.
But negatives? No, I don't think so. I thought there was a couple of quiet games. Ben Mackay had a pretty quiet game. Didn't he?
Yeah, fewer intercept marks there. Is it the sort of ground where it's a bit less space to work with there?
Well, at one stage I saw him playing on Papley. I don't know if that was just a moment where he had to pick him up, but it was. I think the Sydney forward line were rotating their forwards around a lot, so none of our defenders really had a moment where they could lock down on someone.
Yeah.
But on that point, I thought Cox had some good moments.
Yes, I agree.
In that game,
he really did.
He's
He
starting
really did.
to sort of show something, and I think we've got to persist with him.
Yeah. Did you like how he kicked that first goal with his left foot? Eh? Went the left.
He did, and because
I know he's wearing the Michael Long jumper.
a lot of Cox hang to the left.
But he got the goal.
He did.
Right. I'm just leaving a pause there
Oh,
for,
okay.
for,
Well, I
editing,
mean,
for editing purposes. Just in case
no, I think everyone likes a nice Cox joke. I think there's been a fantastic response to them. Your Gunston Cox blocks or whatever it was. That took off in the media, in the comments last week.
Well, I don't know if it took
anyway,
off, but someone
we promised not to be
anyway,
childish anymore.
Yes. Okay.
So what else is there?
Much more.
Are we gonna...
Well, nothing. We face the Saints. So,
we do.
And people have sort of asked, they were expecting a bit more from us, but this year, once again, due to time constraints, the rest of our lives, all that sort of stuff, it'll probably just be the one episode per week, review episode at this stage, where we can squeeze in a preview.
The Sopranos only came out once a week, and people loved that.
You're equating this to
this isn't Happy Days, It's not it's not at 6 o'clock every night, Monday to Friday.
Right.
This is quality. This sort of stuff. You don't want to overdo it.
Oh, right, because it takes a lot of time to knock up these scripts.
It does.
The
production that goes into this show, I swear to God, Ridley Scott, look out.
But yes, so that's probably the status at the moment.
Yeah.
Just for anyone that is wondering, we've had a few comments.
Well,
about
I think we've given a preview. We've said a few changes that will come into the St Kilda game. So I think, look, it's all happening. I don't think anyone's missing out on anything. But we are a little bit sort of tight for time.
Yeah.
We have lives, as you said. Now,
Yes.
I think that probably wraps it up for today. So
that does. As always, please comment. Tell us if we've got it wrong. We love your comments. Really enjoy reading them.
And guys, the old bing, dong, bing, bing. That button?
Yes,
it's
button.
too late now.
Yes,
We should have said it at the beginning. Subscribe.
No one's watching.
And press that little bell button so that we can, continue to bring high quality content to you.
Indeed. Yeah. It all helps very much so. All right, thanks again.
That's it.
We'll be back soon.
Thanks for watching.
River Dirt.
See ya.
Bye.